have Billy Quarantillo on the show now, who picked up a round 3 win over Gabriel Benitez this past weekend and also took home Fight of the Night honors. So first of all, congrats on the big win, Billy. I know that you really wanted to go out there and do your thing, and you did exactly that, and you took home the big bonus to boot. You must be feeling pretty good.
Definitely. That was definitely a great night in my career. I think I'll look back on it as, a huge, I had kind of a fork in the road of coming off a loss. I could have, packed it in, not trained as hard, got another loss and been 3-2. But I think I had, probably the fight of my career so far. Got the win, got the finish, got the fight of the night bonus. And now 4-1 with 3 finishes in the UFC. Things are really looking up from here.
Yeah, no doubt. And you did have to dig deep and get through a little bit of adversity. I mean, Gabriel really came in there to fight, so he brought a good style here in this fight. Was there anything that surprised you or that you just weren't expecting leading into the fight, and then actually what happened?
We had our game plan, and I think what really kind of threw me off is just how well everything, we executed everything really good. We kind of knew what he had going into the fight. He is a really strong straight left hand, which he actually tagged me with, in the 3rd round. But everything else, he had a lot of really strong kicks. I was able to, kind of step off the line, get away from those kicks a little bit, mix in my own combos, mix in my own takedowns. The whole back control, like getting the body lock, the whole body lock. That just came from he's never really been controlled in a fight. So I knew once I went to his back, I knew I wanted to put him in that body lock and just to control him, just to slow him down. And I was able to do that really well in the fight. So I think the only thing that surprised me was, usually a game plan doesn't go exactly how you drew it up, but that was pretty much how we drew it up. Of course, I would have loved to gotten the rear naked choke finish in the 1st round, but it was I felt pretty comfortable in there. I was having a good time, and I was able to grind out the victory.
I always find it really interesting to hear what fighters say that their cornermen tell them going into a 3rd round in a good fight like this. What did your coaches tell you going into that 3rd?
So I had my head coach Matt Arroyo and striking coach Dan Rawlings and my good friend teammate Matt Frivola in my corner. So they always just tell me what I had to hear. Matt told me that I was definitely up 2 rounds, but to go out there and get a finish, because that means more to us than getting a decision. I want to be known as a finisher, an exciting fighter. So he basically just said, keep doing what I was doing, throwing the strikes, mixing the takedowns. They both confirmed, keep landing that right hand, just set up that right hand. And they also told me that, Benitez, he's tired, but he usually looks good in the 3rd rounds. We kind of remembered that. He's kind of like me. He keeps a good pace, and usually in the 2nd and 3rd rounds, he looks, really good. So I knew he was going to be aggressive still. And in my head, I just wanted to get out of the way of that straight left hand, which he cut me once with when I was throwing a kick. But after that, I was able to avoid it, mix in the takedowns, and get the finish.
And that's exactly what you did, man. And again, like I said, you got that fight of the night bonus. I believe you said you want to save that money, put it towards the honeymoon. So when you actually leave, and what is the plan?
Yeah, well, so that's a part of it. I've been joking with people. I'm like, man, if I spend $50,000 on my honeymoon, then I'm not a very good financial decision maker. But of course, we'll have a good honeymoon. We're gonna enjoy ourselves. That's on Wednesday at start, so it was perfect timing. I'm still kind of banged up from the fight, just like bumps and bruises. Still got some stitches in my eye, and it's perfect. A nice little week to recover, and then I could enjoy myself. We're of course going to be recovering, but it's just a pain in the ass when you're limping around and you got blood everywhere. So it'll be nice in a couple weeks. I'll be good, or by next week I'll be good to go.
Now, your original opponent was Herbert Burns. How different was that to prepare for him, and then obviously you have this new opponent in Benitez?
Honestly, I think it worked out pretty good, even though their styles are so different from each other. It basically was like the first part of training camp, I was focusing on someone who just wanted to wrestle with me. So I'm working, my takedown defense. I'm still working my takedowns. I'm working my striking. But some of my training partners were, being more aggressive, looking for the shot. When that changed, it kind of just switched how people were sparring with me, but my mentality was still the same. Land my strikes, mix in my own takedowns, avoid his grappling, avoid him taking me down. And then he kind of switched, and everyone I was sparring with, I really only had a couple weeks to spar. I sparred maybe for like a week or two, getting ready for Benitez, and everyone was just striking with me. And then I got a huge cut over my eye, so I couldn't train the last 2 weeks of camp. I couldn't do any sparring, so we had to stop a little early, but everything worked out in the end.
And I love the call out of Charles Rosa, man. Boston versus New York. Realistically, do you feel like that fight could happen here next?
It's a fight that I do see happening down the road, but just talking to some people like in the know, I think the UFC is wanting to get behind me more and wanting to kind of push me towards the like a little bit higher up in the rankings. So I can see myself fighting Rosa, fighting like an Alex Caceres who's ranked a little higher than me, even fighting someone in the top 15 because they're really wanting to push and get behind me.
What did you think of Rosa's last performance against Justin James? A really close fight. They both had some great moments in the fight. Ultimately, he got the split win. Did you see something from watching that fight that you feel like you can exploit against him if you do face him down the line?
I definitely do. I definitely think, you wouldn't call people out if you think they're going to kick your ass, and there are some guys that I would fight that I didn't call out. There's a lot of guys that I feel comfortable with that I match up well with. But yeah, I think just Rosa, I've seen him in the UFC for a long time. He's been in the UFC much longer than me. I'm kind of looking at it as I need to fight someone with a bigger name than me, a veteran who has more fights than me, and who is ranked somewhere where I am. There's not really official UFC rankings, but obviously I'm getting closer to that top 20, top 25 range. So I would want it to be a veteran who's known to basically get past that hurdle, and then I can start looking for ranked guys in like that upper echelon group.
Your fight here back at the Apex. Are you excited to be fighting in like a packed stadium with screaming fans? Are you one of them guys that feed off of the energy of the arena?
I really do. So I've had so many, most of my regional fights before the UFC were in my hometown or somewhere where I could sell a lot of tickets. So my last few fights before the UFC were all like main event. I have a ton of people that are watching me. Everyone's getting rowdy. Everyone's drinking. Everyone's having a good time. The energy's crazy. Everyone's yelling. So to go from that, and then my first UFC fight in UFC DC, we had a ton of people there. And now it's like back to the Apex you go. So I just can't wait. I think I'm in a great spot. The timing's working out. November 6th, that's where I want to fight. I hope it's in Madison Square Garden. And yeah, it's just a dream come true.
Now, I'm assuming that you're an awful lot like me. You're watching fights when you're not actually inside the octagon competing. Are you watching this season of The Ultimate Fighter? I mean, the guys that are coaches, they're at the top of the division in your weight class. So I'm assuming that you're watching it.
Not really. Not really. I've caught a couple episodes, but just the timing of it just doesn't work out for me usually because I'm always at the gym like at nighttime. But I probably will go back and catch up with it because I do find it. I just love the whole concept of the show. But the problem is I've seen it so many times already, and I was on it, and so that's why I'm just not. I don't rush to watch it all the time because I've already like been there, done that. I do love the idea, and I'm definitely intrigued with that featherweight matchup.
Yeah, and as a veteran of tough, I mean, you can just go on ESPN Plus and watch it whenever you want. You don't have to watch it at a certain time.
I know. I just if I miss it that night, I don't. I see on MMA Twitter if it was a good fight, I'll catch the highlights. I watched Vince Murdoch's fight. I watched the first episode in that one, and I'll see him when they get in the UFC. I don't need to watch them yet.
Who wins between Ortega and Volkanovski when they do fight?
I've been saying Volkanovski, so I still think Volkanovski's going to get the win, but I definitely can see a super competitive fight, and it really just comes down to whoever's going to be better that night. I think both guys are so good, they're so talented, and it's definitely going to be a good fight, but I'm going to lean towards the champ on this one.
Yeah, it's really intriguing what's going to take place moving forward. I love the featherweight division. I mean, the top of the division right now is stacked, and you got former champion Max Holloway that is looming, and who knows who he'll be fighting here next. Do you feel like he could recapture the belt here? Because his fights with Volkanovski were very close.
Yeah, I definitely think he could. I think Max Holloway is the best fighter in our division. He's someone who I've watched over the years. I've studied some of his tapes, his movement, how he boxes, how he fights. I definitely think he could. I think it's just whenever that lines up. I don't know if the UFC necessarily wants to do, a third fight between him and Volkanovski. They might be forced to though if Holloway keeps winning and Volkanovski keeps winning. So I can see if Ortega wins, I could definitely see them booking that fight again because Ortega's gotten a lot better since that last time they fought.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Now you got a home studio, man. The background looks great. You got the mic, you got the headphones. You're all set. So clearly, you're doing some media stuff here on the side. You're talking about doing some commentating. You told me before we went live. Tell me what your aspirations here are moving forward. Whenever you do kind of dial it down from fighting and maybe make a transition into the media side of things.
Yeah, well, I just like we're so lucky now. When I was a kid, the internet didn't even exist really. I'm 32. So to go from that to where we're at now, I just think it's super important that I can communicate with everyone. And I love doing it, especially like-minded people that are in my space, like that MMA space, people who like to, basically produce content. So I'm definitely interested in that. I've been super busy, so that's the only reason I don't have a podcast or I don't do anything like that. But I'm definitely leaning towards doing that. I was saying before the show, I do SFT, Standout Fighting Tournament. It's a Brazilian organization. I do the English commentary for them. So they do their Portuguese and I do the English version. So that I'm in the studio usually twice a week doing stuff like that or doing interviews. So I felt like it was important to have a little setup like this. And I love it. I just come in, sit down. I got my links and everything all set up. So it's just like my little chill space.
Well, you're very well spoken. You clearly have a bright future if that's something you decide to make a full transition into down the line. I did want to ask you, when you look at the former fighters and active fighters that are sitting at the desks right now doing a lot of this commentary and analysis work, who do you feel like is the best? Is there one or two that really stand out?
There's so many. I think everyone that the UFC keeps, they do a good job of kind of filtering through people. John Anik's definitely my boy right now. I just think he's just so great and so smooth when he's talking, and just all the fighters are doing a really good job. Bisping's fun. He's got his own thing. DC's really good. Cruz has his thing. So I think they all do a good job. Felder. I think they all are doing a really good job right now. The ones that they have a pretty solid team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, listen, Billy, I appreciate you giving me a few minutes here today. Again, congratulations on the big win here and the fight night bonus. Before I let you go, man, I want to give you the floor. If there's anyone you want to thank, please do so. And tell people where to follow you on social media.
Oh, yeah. Just thank you to everyone. I got a lot of new followers the past week or so. Follow me at Billy Q MMA on Instagram and Twitter, and that's usually where I'm at. I always try to communicate with as many people as I can, as many fans, all the people. So just thank you for having me.